I'm Jenny Clayville, and I am a worship leader in the Pacific Northwest in the United States. And I'm also the CEO of my home. And I just make sure everything runs smoothly and make sure my kids are fed and my husband is fed, and life is good, or as good as it can be. I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. My parents are very, very Chinese. So it's kind of like, I just kind of grew up in this culture of needing to somehow know about my Chinese culture, but at the same time, I had no feedback or traditions around me except for those that were American. My parents divorced when I was 7, and it's really strange because from the age 7 to about 12, I don't really remember much about anything in the house. There were like maybe snapshots, but that's about it. I don't remember much about being at home. I grew up, again, total American kid. I was, a cheerleader. I sang in choir. If there was a glee club, I would have found one. Jesus, probably, I would say I was in 6th grade when I first accepted him into my heart, but I didn't really know what that meant probably until my sophomore year. But by then, I'm not sure, as a teenager, I really wanted to do what I knew was right. So I wouldn't say I was a rebel, but I questioned a lot of things and kind of lived life on that boundary, on that edge, as much as I could. I guess you could fast forward to the year 2000. I moved away from Seattle, Washington. I moved into Portland, Oregon, where I didn't know a single person because, as weird as this is, God told me to. He just said it's time for things to change, and that in order for you to change, the things around you need to change. And so I moved to Oregon, and here I am today. So I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm 21 years old and didn't know a single soul. But within a couple months, I meet Brian, who ends up actually being my husband. I marry him in the next year, May 2001. So I'm married at the ripe old age of 22. I was volunteering at the time with a church, helping lead worship, helping with youth ministries, and the gal that was overseeing all that went on maternity leave and asked me to oversee the worship ministries for students while she was gone. Student ministries that was there was probably bigger than most average churches in the U.S. and anywhere. Actually, I kind of poured myself completely, fully into ministry. Instead of being married to my husband, I would say I was married to the ministry. I can't even say I was really married to God. I was just kind of a workaholic. Probably trying to prove myself. They created a position for me at the church for students. And so my title was the Director of Student Worship. I was there for 6 years. And within those 6 years, I burned myself out, but I can't say that I knew I was burning out. I was giving my everything, and in that process, my husband and I found out we couldn't have kids, we couldn't. The doctor said we couldn't have kids. We found out, in all honesty, that I don't know if we really did like each other a lot, but I don't know if we could have said that we were really in love. I think from the outside, when you were looking at us, it was nice. It looked like the perfect family. We looked happy. We looked like a God-fearing couple that was serving together in ministry and doing what God had called us to do. But in reality, behind the scenes, behind the facade, everything was a really huge mess. Nothing was right. Everything was just kind of as is. In the process of Brian and me not really being on the same page in our marriage, we thought it was time to have kids. But since we were labeled an infertile couple, the next step for us was to adopt. So we started with looking at papers, getting all signed up. We had a grant that was given to us. We were on our way to adopting actually in Kenya when we found out we were pregnant. And so that was a miracle from God. And I gotta be honest that when I got pregnant, I thought, this is gonna fix everything. I think that's a typical woman thing, that a child is gonna fix a marriage and everything's gonna be great. And it did for a while. I mean, I was pregnant, sick. I was really sick. But 10 months later, we had a beautiful baby boy, Chance, who is 5 now. And in half-day kindergarten, what? But Chance was born, and for a few minutes, few days even, maybe a couple weeks, I think Brian and I were doing really good. Like we felt connected. We felt like, oh my gosh, we had brought this beautiful baby into the world. What a gift from God, and we just felt blessed. It was almost like a new page had turned, and we could start over. But I didn't know that I had all these restless feelings and thoughts within my heart still that were not dealt with. And it wasn't ever my love for Chance, even my love for Brian. It was more just, I didn't even know myself. I had no clue who I was. I think Chance was about almost a year old. I found myself entertaining thoughts of an affair. And soon after the entertaining, I dove into an emotional affair and then dove into a full-blown affair.